A very good morning to all. In today's session, we are all going to learn about organizational behavior. What is the exact scenario, and what other discipline is related to this particular specialization? So that is all about the conceptual framework is to be studied in today's session. So let's begin with what is organization. And so basically organization is a group of people, or you can say a collection of people who are willing or taking interest to work together to achieve some set of goals, or you can say it refers to an individual goals or an organizational goals. That is exactly organization. So organizational is relate to a group of people who are not only work together, they will share their opinions, relationships, views, you can say, and to achieve or a set of goals of the organizations effectively, and that is exactly called an organization. So now we come up to the organizational behavior. So before coming up to the organizational behavior, it is very important to understand the concept of the organization. And now the organizational behavior is a study of all those factors which influence that how the individual act, feel, behave in an organization, and how the organization manage such environment which is influenced by such factors on the individuals or a group of people within the premises, and that's called the organizational behavior. So it is all about the study of all those factors, is how the individual act, feel, or behave in an organization, and if any factors which influence such behavior, the organization is attempt to manage such environment or such behavior which influence the organization. So the organization has a responsibility to manage such environment which automatically influence positively or negatively the ultimate consumers or individuals who work together in an organization or a group of people who always work to achieve some set of goals of the organization which has been designed by the management team. So that is called the organizational behavior. The next concept is intuition, which are always being associated with the systematic study. Systematic study is not only about the relationships. It's not only about the working relationships or which refers to a cause and effect, or just include or drawn a conclusion based on some scientific evidence which being to a organization. It always provides a means to predict the behavior. So, a systematic study, the aim of the systematic study is always provide a means to predict the behavior of the individuals and how they look at relationship, how they find out that action that refers to a cause and effect relationship, how they draw up conclusions based on the scientific evidence by the organization. And intuition is just a feeling. A feeling is not about you can say the support. It's not about that kind of feelings which are supported by research or any of the scientific evidence or the facts which has been mentioned or which by a researcher. So intuition is just a feeling, a positive feeling or a negative feeling which is come naturally, which are not necessarily based on research or the facts or any kind of evidence, and that's called the intuition. And systematic study is just a tool which, or you can say, as a means to provide or to predict the behavior along with individuals. Now, organizational provides a set of tools that allow how the people to understand, to analyze, to describe, and how they behave in the organization. But when we talk about the second category, it also allows that how the organization could improve, could increase, how they change the work behavior of the individuals groups so that the whole organizational can work to achieve the ultimate goals of it, and that's all about the organization behavior. So they are classified into two parts, that how the people, so that people to understand, analyze, describe such behavior in the organization, and second, how the managers could improve, change, and motivate the particular employees or individuals groups, and accordingly they could achieve the goals. These are the conceptual studies of the organizational behavior. So it's better to understand that how, while managing or understanding the organizational behavior, it is equally important to study these three categories, that is individuals in organizations, groups and organizational process, and intergroup relations of the organizational context. So the first one is individuals. We are talking about the first category, we talk about the individuals. Second category, we talk about the groups. Third category, we talk about the organizational level. So the when we talk about the individuals in group, we talk about the individual differences, the differences based on personality and the abilities and capabilities of the individuals. Third one, second one is that how, what was the experience, the work experience they might have, what values and attitude and the moods they actually have during the work environment. What is the perception, attribution, and the management of diversity? Whether the individual have a diverse niche, a diverse culture, or diverse thoughts related to the management or not? How they act and behave and think towards the others? How they influence and make out the action that refers to a cause and effect relationship, whether it would be work or related to the stress or any other factor. How they learn in the organization, whether the learning process will actually influence the employees or individuals or not. How the work motivates them to improve their efficiency and effectiveness so that they can achieve their goals or targets of the organization. There are motivational tools, of course. There are two categories of the motivational tool, the job design and goal setting. How the job is to be designed so that they can work comfortability, and how they set up the goals to achieve or to work on it to achieve that goals. The third category is motivational tools, that is the performance appraisal, pays, and the carriers. That what type of the particular pay or the salary package is also based on the performance appraisal, and what pays they will actually offered for, and how to improve their career growth. And that's all about the organizational behavior. Always how to manage the stress in the work life leakages, actually the work upon that, how they maintain such relation between the stress and the work life. So that is, and that exactly what the organizational behavior do. It's a study of the individuals within the organization based on these parameters. But when we talk about the group of people or the organizational process, we always talk about the groups, the communication process among the groups, how the decision make or how the decisions to be taken by the employers based on the results or the evidence or the facts which has been done by a group of the people, how the leadership styles to be applied, or how being a leader, how they can manage and coordinate and cooperate among such a team of of the persons. The effective work groups is also being involved. The more and more the work groups would effective, then definitely they can easily achieve the goal at a predetermined set time. The next one is the nature of work groups. That what kind of nature or what type of nature the group would be to involve them into a work or into a task. The next is intergroup relation and the organizational context. So the first one is organizational structure and culture, and how they coordinate, how they communicate, how they act among the group of the people, and what cultures they belong to. And environmental culture is also equally important. How they study is just studied by the organizational behavior. Second is determinant of organizational structure and culture. So, what are the factors that positively influence or negatively influence the organizational structure and culture? It would be the turnover, it would be the pay scale, it would be the stress, it would be the satisfaction, it would be the experience, it would be that they be how psychologically how they behave and act and feel towards the other people, or be not or are influenced by the other people. So that is the all about in the organizational context, how power politics conflict is a part of the organization, how the organizational change and development always focus on the organization, that how to change the organizational part, and of course that work towards the development of the organization, and that can be done by the intergroup relations, can be done by the intergroup employees, and the employees and employer who work together towards the change of the organization and development of it. So this is the conceptual studies of the organizational behavior. So it's to understand the organizational behavior, it is very important to study all these parameters and to understand the exact and what was the role in the what was the role of these parameters in organizational behavior. Now we talk about management. Management, of course, is one of the factors, one of the major important role in organizational behavior. And without management, organization doesn't exist. So management is exactly a process of planning, organizing, leading, or controlling an organizational, human, financial, material, any other resources to increase its effectiveness and efficiency. And that's all about management. So management in according to the father of management, that is, who always says that management is a process of planning, organizing, some you can say summarizing, controlling, motivating, supervising of all those factors, whether it's related to the financial, material, human, which automatically used to achieve the goals of the organization, and that's called the management. So automatically the management refers to is just a process of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling all those resources, whether it's related to human, financial, material, to increase the effectiveness and efficiency, and that's called management. So the components of management is planning. First, you decide what would be the organizational goals to achieve, how to allocate and use the resources to achieve that particular goals. The next one is once the goals has been set up, the how to organize to work towards achieve the goals. So the organizing is just to establish the rules and regulation and reporting the relationships that allow such individuals or the people to achieve that goals which has been set up by the organization. So once the organization part has been done, once the rules and regulation and the reporting relationships among the people has been done, the next just leading, how to encourage them, how to motivate or coordinate such individuals and groups so that they can work together towards the achievement of the goals of organization. Once the leading part has been done, the last process is controlling. How to evaluate the performances of the individuals and the groups, whether they have achieved that goals, and if less and more, how to improve the performance and how they maintained such actions, or how to take a corrective action to perform well to achieve the targets, and that's called controlling. So there are four main components of management and organizational behavior, that is planning, set the goals, organizing, establish the rules, the relationships, leading, motivate and encourage, and how you coordinate the individuals to achieve that goals. And the next one is controlling, that how you evaluate the performances of the organization, and if not up to the mark, then how they take up the action to maintain or improve the performance towards achieving the goals, or take the corrective measures or actions towards the aim. The next one is manageable roles. There are three main categories. Then who is manager? What is the exact role? Especially the students forget how to respond the meaning of the role exactly. So role is just a position an individual hold in a group or organization to perform the various tasks that the organization is expected to perform by him or her. That is role. Manager could be any person who supervises their team or subordinates to perform well to achieve the goals. But there are so many roles which has been identified. The author, the psychologist, which is called the Midberg, which is figurehead. Figurehead is the head of the organization, the manager, I could say. The liaison is like about that how they cooperate, how they coordinate with the other team of members, and how if there any one change of any environment or any behavior of the one person automatically influenced by the another person. So that's called the liaison. Disseminator is how the information or how the news to disseminate, to spread among the group of people, or you can say shared among the group of people, that person is called disseminator. Entrepreneur who has made a concept of opening up a company, resource allocator, leader, monitor, spokesperson, dispersion, dis, dis, disturbance handler, and negotiator. So these are the roles which is you can say managed, or you can see in the real in management environment or a management companies or a top rated companies. All these roles is always being available, and you can see in the real world as well. Now we talk about the manageable skill. These skills are very important, and accordingly, the work has been divided and allocated according to the skills. The first one is conceptual skills. That the person who has a conceptual skills has an ability to analyze and diagnose or identify the situation, and how to distinguish between the cause and effect relationship between it, and that's called the conceptual skills. The next one is human skills. Human skills is a person who hold to understand, to work with, to lead and control the behavior of all those people and group who work together within the organization. and that's called the human skills. The skills to understand, the skills to work with anyone, the skill how to lead and control others, behavior. That's called the human skills. The next one is technical skills. Technical skills refers to a very job specific skills, whether you can see the skills which relate to the knowledge and technique. For example, a biologist, for example, engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. That are technical skills. So these are the three main skills which being used in management, and accordingly a particular individual will be analyzed based on these skills. Now we talk about the fundamental concepts under OB here. These are the concepts, and always when we study the behavior of the individuals or the people who are working within the organization or outside the organization, these are the nature of the people, that how they behave, act, and feel, or which are influenced by the other people or being influenced by its own self. So when you sit in the room, your behavior changes. When you sit in the church or sitting with your parents and family, your behavior will automatically change according to the time and situation. So that's the if any researcher would study such behavior depending upon the situation and time, that's exactly called the human behavior. That's exactly called the organizational behavior or refers to the OB. The individual differences, the differences always occur between the individual based on the act, based on the thinking, based on the behavior, based on the cultural diversity, based on the tradition, all that. So the differences always been exist, but on what parameters and how to study such parameter, that is all about the organizational behavior. Perception is all about the thinking process, about the things, about the people. But perception is keeps on changing on every second or every minute, or even takes a short or long time period, but it always keeps on changing. And sometimes it's always aims to study, but how, what exact scenario, on what aspects the perception could be studied. It could be through organizational behavior. Whole person, a person as a whole, how to study such people who always behave very silently, who don't able, who are very introvert kind of person, and how it become to the extrovert person as a whole. It's better to study through such a broad concept, that is organizational behavior. Motivated behavior, of course, that there are plenty of the people who always behave to motivate others towards the work within the organization, towards how to achieve, how to lead them, how to solve their personal and of course the social issues, and of course the work issues as well, how to uh, motivate to remove the stress related to a various set of activities which was organized by the organization. So this is all about such kind of people having such nature as well, a motivational nature, a desire to involve. The people who have always have a nature, every that always been involved, have a desire to involve in the work, to involve in the management team, to involve to take a decision, and accordingly take a corrective action if any decision doesn't work on the projects. So that kind of people are always available in the organizations. So if you're working in an organization or if you're working in any of the firm, these category of people or these category of persons who having such nature are always available in the organization. So if there is a motivational kind of person available in the organization, of course there are demotivated people who are always been available. So it depends on an individual that how to understand such differences, such behavior within the organization while working in it. Value of persons. So the persons or the people who work for you, who value the work done by you, or the value the task which has been achieved by you, that's called the person who stands or refers to a value of person. Next one is goals of organizational behavior. It is there are four goals actually. First, to describe the scenario. Once you describe, you need to understand or you need to study that scenario, then to predict the variables, then whether such whether any of the variable like life stress, workload, you can say optimism, satisfaction, experience, turnover, rate, right, pay scale. So these are the variables. So according to the scenario, according to the situations, once you describe, you need to understand. You need to predict the variables, and once the variables you predict, now you need to take a control actions to solve that particular problems or issues if it occurs in a particular situations or a conditions within the organization. So these are the goals which is very important to understand, especially the students or the freshers people who are working in an organization. It is very important to understand these goals, describe, understand, predict, and control. So first you need to understand how to describe a situation, how to describe a scenario, then to understand properly or you can carefully that scenario, to study that scenario, then predict depends upon the variables which influence or non-influence it, then control if there any influential factor, how to control that factor and take a corrective actions upon it. So these are the goals of the organizational behavior. Now we talk about the influential factors of organizational behavior. So these are the factors. People, so we begin from the people and the next is resources. They both are interrelated to each other. The people which involves individuals and groups and how they work, how how they work in an organization, what resources they actually have to work upon it. So that's called technology, machinery, computer hardware and software on which such people work upon it, the work on the softwares and achieve the task whichever the company has set for. So once these people and technology resources have been interrelated, so how these two factors, people and technology, will be influenced by the environment, that is government, competition, social pressure. Government, we talk about the taxations, we talk about the subsidies, we talk about the new rules and regulations which will imposed in the organizations and the organization imposed on the people, and of course the technologies, innovation of technologies, rules, all that scenario. The second one is competition, the competitions of the rival firms, the organization deal with and how they deal with such competitive environment. That's called environment. It automatically influence the people and technology as well. Social pressure, we talk about the work stress, we talk about the how to maintain the life stress and how the balance loss between the work and the personal life. Such pressure, the money pressure, always the budget pressure is always comes and influence to people, whether individuals and groups, and automatically when they influence the people, automatically they couldn't aim to work effectively and efficiently to achieve the target which has been set by the organization. And once these environment influence, then automatically it also influence the structure, their jobs, their relationships towards their subordinates, towards the managers. So everything will become change. So once the environment factors would come up or influence the people, automatically the jobs and relationships and the work structure, the work stress would come up among the people, and automatically it influenced the relationships with among subordinates, and automatically it influenced their own life, whether it would be the work life or it would be the personal life. And that's called, when you study the people in technology and those factors, environmental factors, which ultimate influence the people, jobs, and relationships. And when you study such relationships, jobs, and the study of the people in respect of the technology and environment, and that's all the overall process, if we study, is organizational behavior. So these are the forces and the factors which influence such people, and automatically if we study the individuals and group in respect of environment, jobs, relationships, technologies, it's all aims to study organizational behavior. Now we talk about the contributing discipline to organizational behavior. So these are the contributing discipline. We always talk when we study the behavioral sciences, which always develop a new concepts to the development of the organizational behaviors of the psychology, social psychology, sociology, and anthropology. When we talk about psychology, it always aims to study how the people, how the person act, think, and behave. But when we talk about the social psychology, how the people would, it aims at study how the people act, think, and behave in respect of the society, and that's called the social psychology. When we talk about sociology, we always talk about how the society thinking or thoughts, and how the society influence the thoughts, behavior, and the thinking process of others, and that's called the sociology. Next, we talk about the anthropology. Anthropology, it refers or it aims to study the cultures, the traditions of the society. That's called anthropology. It always aims to study the cultures or the traditions of the study, and aims to check on then whether the society influence the thinking of the others or not, and that's called anthropology. So these are the contributing disciplines to organizational behavior, that is psychology, social psychology, sociology, or anthropology. Next one is challenges and opportunities for organizational behavior. Definitely, after reviewing the factors which influence, after reviewing the contributing factors, after reviewing the roles and the management context, there is the challenges, of course, always being occurs in organizational behavior. So the first challenge is improving the quality and productivity. So when we talk about improving the quality and productivity of the individuals or of the group of the people, there are two main concepts to work upon the individuals, that is the quality management and the process re-engineering. Quality management is always work upon how to improve the quality of, you can say, the employees towards their work, and how they achieve that particular set targets of the organization. Process reengineering is a rethinking about everything, about the innovations, about the technologies, about the development of a new product, about the new product life cycle. So when we talk about, this is called a challenge, and this is also called the opportunity for the employees, for the individuals, for a group of people to rethink about all those parameters which already exist in the organization, but you need to rethink upon all those parameters, whether it's innovation, redevelopment, development of a new product, to work to improve such in for a future. So that's called the process re-engineering. The next one is responding to the labor shortage. Of course, as in India, always be a shortage of labor. Why? Because of these parameters, changing workforce demographics. Now the organizations employed or employs laborers based on their demographics, or based on their race, or based on their sexism, all that's parameters. So accordingly, the workforce demographic has also become changed. The second is favor skilled laborers. Of course, the skilled labor is very shortage in India because the laborers were working. It's a very traditional laborers who are working, but when you talk about the skilled laborers who know how to work on technologies, how to lead and coordinate with other laborers, to train them to work into factories or using the technology, there are very few skilled laborers are available in India. Early retirements and older workers. So obviously, the early retirements and older workers always always results or resulted to a labor shortage. Next one is improving customer service. So always have a challenge of this, that always organizational behavior should increase the expectation of service quality, and of course to develop the customer responsive cultures within the organization, so that every uh, company should respond to their customers accordingly, and create such a culture where the customers queries will be sorted out immediately. So this is the one of the challenge and the opportunities which involved in such challenges to work upon it. So this is all the challenges and the opportunities for organizational behavior. There are more challenges in which improving people's skills, empowering people. We always talk about empowering the woman empowerment. So here, when we talk about within the organizational context, it always empowering the people, to empower, to motivate the people, that to work in the organization to get an experience and knowledge, so that whenever they will become an entrepreneur, they will work at the same scale, stimulating innovation and change, coping with temporariness. Obviously, they must encourage themselves to cope up with the temporary things. Working in networked organizations, very easy to understand. Helping employees balance work or life conflicts, very important to understand that helping employees and make it balance, and how to make a balance between the work and life conflicts. It's one of the most important issue in our daily life, that how the employees make a balance between work and life conflicts. So it always have a solution, that how to make a balance by the time management only, or by making a time management, it will automatically balance the work and life conflicts occurs in a particular individual life. The next one is improving ethical behavior, that how to behave very, every situation very ethically. But they must know the what is right and like what is right and wrong while behave to with others, to or with others. Managing people during the war on terrorism, it is very important. Biggest challenge and an opportunity as well, that how to manage people during the war on terrorism. Basic model of organization behavior. So this is a basic model, OB model stage one. That's called a reality, a representation of a real life or a real world scenario. So it's begin of the three levels. That is, individual level comes to the group level when such individuals involved in a group. Then once the group level have been organized, the organization systems level, that how the group would work into such organizational systems where every group has involved some set of tasks and accordingly they perform and achieve that task in a very effective manner. So that is called a reality, a process or an abstraction of reality for an individuals, for a group of people, the levels that they actually stand in, that is individual level, group level, organizational systems level, where the organizational levels is talk about the intermediate level, a lower level or higher levels. When we talk about the lower level, we talk about the lower level staffs. That means we talk about the peons, we talk about the you can say security guards. If we talk about the intermediate levels, we talk about the you can say managers. We talk about the employees. We talk about the employers. When we talk about the high level, we talk about the HOD. We talk about the heads of the organization, chairman, CEO. So these are the levels which has been categorized how to how the individual were involved in such levels, organizational levels. So how they behave, act, and feel at that particular time or in a particular condition situation, and that study is called organizational behavior. Now we talk about the variables which involve in organizational behavior. Variables are the measurements actually which always done by a researcher, and the variables could be any of the variables. It would be experience, it would be satisfaction, it would be perception, it would be optimism, it would be you can say turnover, it would be pay scale, it would be salary, it would be wages, all that. They're all variables. So variables are the measurements and used to study of such variables by a researcher. For example, satisfaction perception. A study, you can say assessment of the perception, assessment of the experience level of the customers in a particular or in respect of a restaurant services, like that. So this is called the variables. But variables are categorized into two main categories, that is dependent variable and independent variables. So dependent variable are those variables which are affected or aims to study that there is a change there is a change in any of the independent variables or not, or you can see a response that is affected by an independent variable. And dependent variables always a researcher try to understand that what exactly the organizational behavior stands here in such depend using the dependent variables. So simple meaning or in simple sense I could say dependent variables are those variables which are affected by independent variables. So this is a particular graph has been shown where the x and y, the x, you can see x is a dependent variable, y is an independent, y is a dependent variable, x is an independent variable, and the line is always chosen outward. So if there is any change in the dependent variable, the independent variable has no response upon it. After all, the that dependent variable is influenced or affected by the independent variable. So, independent variable is free from any changes of any of the variables. So, dependent variables are those variables. If there is any change in the dependent variable, the dependent variable will get influenced by such variable. variables. So that's called dependent variable, and that's the main reason that if the dependent variable changes according to the period of time, the curve will begin, or you can say it shows an upward sloping of the curve of the dependent variable rather than independent variable. So that's called dependent variable. So there are some various examples which has been follow up. So these are the example: dependent variable, productivity, that includes effectiveness and efficiency. Effectiveness, that how you achieve the goals. Efficiency, you just meet that goals at a very lower cost. So that's called dependent variables: productivity, effectiveness, efficiency. Absenteeism, the failure to report to work. It is like if the people or individual were unable or fail to report to work. That is called absenteeism. Turnover is also a dependent variable. The voluntary and the involuntary permanent withdrawal from the organization. How you withdraw at the permanent on voluntary basis or involuntary basis of an organization, that's all about turnover. Different workforce behavior. So voluntary behavior always been violates the significant organizational norms, and of course it also threatens the well-being of the people, or it threatens the members of the organization. So such behavior, voluntary behavior, always violate the norms and rules of the organization, and also influence the members of the organization who are always thought about the well-being of an organization. So such kind of behavior, divergent behavior, diverse or negatively behavior will always against the norms and regulations of the organization, because such environment or such behavior will always influence the workplace. Now we talk about the independent variables. Independent variables are those variables who are very free from any changes, or any changes occurred of any of the variables. That's called independent variables, who are always presumed that there is a change in the dependent variable, or a major determinants of the dependent variables. So that's called independent variable. Now the question arises is independent variables can be of three levels. It would be individual level, it would be experience, it would be perception, it would be stress level, it would be anxiety level, it would be work stress, it would be life conflict. So that's for, and these all variables are independent variable. When we talk about the group level variable, we always talk about the turnover rate, which refers to the uh, efficiencies of the group level. We always talk about the compensations. We always talk about the bonus. We always talk about the pay scale of the group level. We always talk about the increment salaries. We always talk about the allowances, or in case of individual, in case of group level, that is medical allowances, the medical health insurance, I could say. Organizational system level, we always talk about the stress. We always talk about the down, you can see the downfall of an organization. That's called the independent variables of the three levels, that is individual, group, and organizational. We always talk about the reputation of the organization. We always talk about the brand value of the organization. So these are all independent variables according to the levels. Whether it would be individual level, it would be group level, it would be organization system level variables. So these are the categories of the individuals. We always talk about the productivity, allowance, turnover, they're all even citizenship, satisfaction, divergent workforce behavior, they're all independent variables because here we are talking about the individual basis. Here, organizational system, group level, and the individual level, these are all called the independent variables, whether it would be human resources, whether it would be group activity, decision making, communication, work ethics, conflicts, all independent. We talk about the perceptions, we talk about the motivation, we talk about the ability, we talk about the values and ethics, we talk about the personality. As I already told, they're all independent. We talk about the packages, space scale, we talk about the leadership, we talk about you can say the biographical information or the characteristics. That's all called independent variables, and that's exactly called the OP models, where the three levels has been designed. Where the organizational system level, we always talk about the human resources. When we talk about the group level, we always talk about the change of social ideas, or we talk about the ideas related to the stress or any kind of ideas. When we talk about the individual, we always talk about the human human input, or you can say human structure. When we talk here, it's related to the all about humans, all about their values, their attitudes, their ability, their perceptions, their motivation, their testing of their patience level. So that's called the human input. So when we combine all these levels, that means it's called the organizational behavior model. So when you combine the dependent and independent variables, so and you study such variables, among these all these three levels, and when you combine these three levels, one, two, three, it becomes organizational behavior model. So this is all about the basic OB model stage 2, where we are talking about the types of variables, dependent and independent variables, according to the three levels of OB, that is individual, group, and organization. So that's all about the organizational behavior model stage 2. Now we talk about the challenges of organizational behavior. So these are the challenges for organizational behavior and management as well. As management is also a major part of the organizational behavior. So when we talk about the first one is using new information technology, that how to create and how to maintain the creativity and how to make new learnings to the organizational individuals or the particular groups. The next one is how to manage the human resources to increase their competitive advantage, to develop the organizational ethics as well as the well-being of the people who are working in an organization, how to manage a diverse workforce structure, a workforce environment. That is also one of the challenge because every individual behaves differently, act differently, think differently. But how to manage such diverse work structure, that is one of the challenges of the organizational behavior. And after all, the organizational behavior aims to study such all these challenges carefully. How to manage the global environment. It is very difficult when the global workforce entered into a one organization. How to manage such global cultures, a global environment, the global people according to their language, different languages, their different essence, their different cultures, their different thinking process towards achieving the goals, how they will manage. So that's also the one of the challenge of organizational behavior and management. Challenge one, The in under challenge one, it is the new information technology. The first one is how the new computer systems and softwares to use up such a speedy flow of information around the organization, and how they link up the people in sub units within it. Creativity. The decision making process, of course, it comes from novels or useful ideas, which leads to new and improved goods and services, and a better improvement in such a new way that they can able to produce. So that's called creativity, and these two are one of the new challenges that related to the information technology that enhance the creativity and organizational learnings. So this is a diagram which has been a challenge, I could say, a fairness and justice challenge, a decision making and performance challenge, and the flexibility challenge. When we talk about these challenges, we always talk about the biographic characteristics of an individuals or of a person. So we talk about the age, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, socioeconomic background, capabilities, and disabilities. So when we talk about the fairness and justice challenge, we always talk about the age and gender. When we talk about the decision making and performance challenge, we always talk about the whole process, that is age, gender, race, ethnicity, and religion. So when we talk about the flexibility challenge, we always talk about the religion, sexual orientation, economic background, and capabilities and disabilities. So these are the major challenges based on the biographic characteristics of an individual, and these are the three main other challenges besides the technology and creativity. So these are the flexibility challenge, decision making in performance, and fairness and justice challenge. So it's always based on the actual demographic characteristics of a person, and accordingly the challenge these challenges occurs, and a corrective action is to be taken by the management and the organization itself to face it, and accordingly the corrective measures to be you can say made it out. Now, a new ways to increase performance. So these are the new ways. When we talk about performances, that how the employees should act, behave, and think when it comes to the new targets to achieve. So these are the ways to increase performance. Re-engineering, just complete rethinking, redesign of business process according to increase efficiency, quality, innovation, and how they respond frequently to the customers. Restructuring, then altering an organizational structure, then any changes in your to make up to make any organizational structure by eliminating a department, by adding a new department to streamline the organizational operations and reduce the cost. Outsourcing, acquiring goods and services from outsourced agencies. So there are so many outsourced agencies, outside agencies where you can buy, you can purchase the goods and services outside the organization, so that their performances could increase and perform better. The next one is freelancer, the individuals who contract with the organizations to perform the specific services. Let's talk about the courier services. Let's talk about the content writers. Let's talk about the marketing agents who always help to increase or to improve the performance of the group or the organization towards a particular aim and objective to achieve. This is a challenge ethics, well-being, and social responsibility. So it's ethics is all about right and wrong. It's always well-being and happy and healthy and prosperous situation. And social responsibility is a moral responsibility towards the individuals and groups outside the organization, and of course, it's affected by the external actions of the people. These are the diversity changes which has been the diagram has been shown: flexibility, decision making, performance, fairness, and justice. So till time, that's all for today. So I come up with a more interesting or important topics or the blocks of this particular specialization, that is organizational behavior. So till time, thank you for listening and namaste to all.